but not really because I've never actually seen it. Or
True.
allegedly.
Oh, buddy. Let's
Okay.
get this pod going. We're not going to edit that out.
The Dad Pod. All right, folks, dads, fellow dads, aspiring dads, welcome to the Why Dad Podcast. We are your hosts, Andrew Stolpestad and Paul Wandrey, and we are on a mission to figure out what it means to be a dad, husband, almost said father, but anyway, dad, husband, father, man, all the things.
All the yes, yeah.
Everything.
You're supposed to have this, like, all
masculine.
memorized, like, for rote.
Yeah, I know. But then I looked into your beautiful eyes and I got lost.
Oh.
Anyway, what it means to be all of that shit and why it matters. And hopefully along the way, we can figure out some ways, glean from our guests and from our long rambles, such as this one, how to become just that, how to help you become the dad you want to be, how to help me become the dad I want to be, how to help Andrew become a dad and not the dad he wants to be.
Yeah, well, got to get the first step down.
Yeah. It all comes back to being a man,
It does.
being the men that we want to be. So anyway, we have a dual episode today, which you might skip or you might not skip, but
Yeah.
I don't think you should.
What
do we have in store?
Formally defined. So yeah, when we say duo, it's just our basement gathering conversations.
There you go.
Great, there goes my dogs.
Two dads in the basement. Oh, gosh.
Except I'm not a dad. I'm just an uncle.
Yeah. Two guys in the...
There
we go. Anyway.
No, I thought so. Fill the listeners in. Paul and I have been having conversations throughout the day. I'm sure we've said it, like, not a day goes by where Paul and I don't talk, and there's some days where we're texting each other constantly throughout the day because
and another day when we fall asleep on the phone because we refuse to be the one to hang up. No, you hang up. No, you hang up. But Sarah doesn't like that.
Because we don't include her. She just wants to be included. Great, now I lost my train of thought. Thanks.
Sorry, I cut you off.
Got dogs
we were talking.
nieces and nephews yelling upstairs and barking. And
we were talking today because we talked every day.
Oh, yes.
Yada.
And our conversation today was... we never finished it, and so I figured our recording today would be a great place to integrate and conclude our conversation. But
yeah, because we figure if we're dealing with it, there's probably other dads and men who are dealing with it.
Absolutely.
Oh, there absolutely are.
Yeah, absolutely. And it might be a sensitive topic and some guys don't want to talk about. This just highlights the importance of having other good guy relationships that you can open up and have that community and fraternity. But really it came down to family drama and how we navigate through our own separate family dramas. Paul and I are also unique in that each other's family adopted each other into family. So my family stuff is a little bit not so much, and his family stuff is a little bit, for me, not so much though. But we're both involved in each other's families' lives to a great deal. And
yeah,
it has an impact on
we
both
are,
of us.
and we talk. It's great. We love having, or I appreciate having you too. I know you can be a safe sounding board, whether that's something within my immediate family or my extended family. And I know you've expressed the saying the other way around. But also, you talked about how, like, we are each other's family. Like, I think that is another aspect that we can get into today. Is like, there's a family you don't choose, family you're stuck with. And then there is the family that you get to choose. And sometimes I would posit we spend too much time trying to put the sand and back into the broken jar of unchosen family when we could be putting that in the unbroken jar of the chosen family. But anyway, that's all a preamble. We can get into the nitty gritty.
Yeah.
The nitty gritty shitty.
And there might be some details that maybe we'll do our best to keep it as not airing the dirty Wandrey. But we are going to we may stop Stolp in
We will just change the name. Depending on this point. Hi, my
like
name is
reading
Luau.
Reddit posts. Like, am I the asshole? But no, basically, like, there's a lot going on in my family. We've covered some of it.
Yeah, so high level, if the listening, this is the first episode.
I've, like I said, and at multiple episodes and talking with guests that I'm a full-time uncle. My 5 nieces and nephews live with me constantly. So it's one to give me practice on shaping how I want to be a dad, habits I want to build, virtues, as I say, habits, as Paul says. And that there's a lot that goes on. And at the end of the day, a lot of it can be extremely stressful and frustrating. And you just are like, why am I doing this? Putting up with this? Or, and it's really easy to let all those things like take control of your life instead of living the life that you should be or want to. And like I said, Paul and I have just been talking about, okay, how do we navigate these scenarios, these issues? And that's basically where our conversation left off, where we're jumping in. And so,
Yeah. So who wants to go first?
yeah, the challenge here, like I said, is try not to make people sound bad, because again, it's family. We love them, we really do.
Yeah.
But people are people, and there's gonna be personality clashes. So there's gonna be things that happen that just.
Here's the deal with my family. I have enough of them that I can just say a sibling, and it will remain very vague. And the issues are pervasive. That it's really not pointing any fingers for you. For you, with just your 2 brothers, is a little less vague. So yeah, it's up to you, like what you want to share.
It's just at the end of the day, like there's. It's pretty obvious what the situation's gonna be and like whatnot. But like at the end of the day, there's difference of opinions, there's different personalities, and vices, pride, and whatnot. And one of the issues that comes down, like I'm dealing with, is how to keep things real, like how to be realistic in certain scenarios, and not falling, like helping and trying to keep people from falling into idealistic, like wishful thinking, like something good is gonna happen. Because let's say, how can I put this? This is gonna be an interesting episode, Paul. But I'm having fun.
I think we just gotta. I think we just gotta rip the Band-Aid, man. Or if it helps, I can go first.
No, I'll get through this. But okay, so a hard scenario came up. Someone in the family was like, "Here's the deal," and I'm like, "Okay, here's what I have to offer for help." And you don't have to do that, and that's too much, or something good's gonna happen though, because like it just didn't seem, well, that's wishful thinking, and you gotta apply yourself and do the work to get through that. And
Was it a scenario where was it just straight wishful thinking, or was it like wishful thinking under the guise of faith? Because that's something I've seen a lot is, oh, God will provide, something will come along. But then there's the analogy, which I love, the parable of the guy stuck on the roof after a flood. And it's like, he's like, why didn't you save me? I sent you a boat, I sent you a log, I sent you like all this stuff that you could have just taken the step to save yourself. But anyway, yeah. So it was not that it's really relevant, but I'm that's something I've heard a lot. Is, oh yeah, God will provide, but then it's just another way of just not holding yourself accountable.
Yeah, no, there's some of that, and there's my motto is, being the religious person that I am, is pray as if everything depends on God, but you have to work as if everything depends on you. Like,
Mm-hmm.
shit's just not going to fall from the tree unless you shake it.
Yeah. Where does it come from? I've heard that
I
before.
don't know. But I liked it.
That's a
Heard it
good one,
once,
though.
and I liked it.
There's the other one. Oh, go ahead. It's unparty.
No, so so there's tensions, there's frustrations, and I guess like the whole point is, at what point do you just I'm done, or like how do you get through this without causing more issues and things like that? And so like that's me being a single guy. It's a little easier to navigate through and just be like, okay, I'm done with this, and I'm gonna focus on my own stuff in my own life, and you guys can figure out how to get out of a mud hole on your own.
Yeah. Yeah. That's tough, man. So without divulging details, but to summarize it for the listener, like there's a situation. Was that?
Yeah, I'd just being like so general, but at the same time, like,
Yeah, I'm sure people are like, "What? So what? What?" Okay, but so a family member is in a tough situation where they can get out of their comfort zone to help themselves. Not that this is much better, because they haven't. They are suffering the consequences, and you offered your help to bail them out, and then they're like, "Oh no, I can't take your help." But you're like, but then you emphasize that as like, if you don't, or if you don't take the bull by the horns and do something about it, it not only affects you, but it affects me and everybody else in this house.
yeah.
So that's a tough situation. And like what do you hear, Abby?
Yeah.
Oh. We have all the fun background noise today. We had Kato drinking earlier. Now we have Evie making her entrance known. And that's even behind a closed door and on a different floor. I'm a poet. I just didn't know it. All I got to do is show it. Anyway. Yeah, that's such a tough situation because you are like walking the line between like tough love, but also not pushing somebody so far that they become resistant.
Mhm.
So what for you is the biggest challenge in that scenario?
I think this is something you're gonna relate to, and we've touched the topic a little bit, but there's my personality is very much of one where if there's peace in the house, like all is good, and I'll do what I have to do to make that happen. Like to the point of sacrificing my own stuff to. Maybe it comes from a confused sense of ethical or just. For me, I wouldn't say confused because I specialized in like ethics and moral behavior, but drawing the line, that figuring out where that line is and setting up a boundary, because like we mentioned before, it's family and you love them and you want to see everyone succeed. Where do you stop giving up your own goals, needs, and things like that for that?
Yeah. Where do you stop? Like, at what point do you stop investing your time and effort into something that reap dividends? And it's not even so much about like dividends, but it's so much as it's just you're like pouring it down a hole because there's not because there's no reciprocation, but just because there's no interest to help themselves.
There's that aspect of it, and there's the aspect of, are you taking on a responsibility that isn't that you're making up and isn't even there.
Yeah. So I absolutely, you said I would relate with it, and I absolutely do. And here's why. And I know she won't mind me sharing this, but so when we lost Isla, Sarah was in a very, very dark place mentally and emotionally. It's like severe depression, like PTSD from the whole like 4 weeks of basically hell. And she is currently, she has made herself anew, and she's in the process of making herself anew. But she's the first to admit that she was no longer this Sarah Wandrey she was before. She
Right.
was a broken woman. And so there was a point where like I was the protector. I was the one like taking care of the family. I was the one like making sure that like shit happened because that was what I could do. And so that meant for a while that I was stepping in to take care of Evie more than I do now, more than quote unquote is my fair share. It was my fair share because it's what I could do and whatnot. But then as Sarah processed her grief and found healing, and that didn't even really find healing, but built healing. She fought for that healing. There were situations where, let's say, Evie is like throwing a tantrum, or for example, like Sarah's trying to get Evie out the door, like it's on a time crunch. Evie isn't having it, and this is like a year or so ago, right? Or a year, like probably close. So she was 3 at the time of this type of example. And like, I wanted to step in and be like, and take care of the situation. Let Sarah, okay, you go like decompress, like you get in the car, whatever. I'll handle Evie and I will hold a boundary with Evie. I'll deal with her onslaught, her tantrum. And don't get me wrong, there are times where like we like each of us still needs that. We need the other to jump in. But I was doing it every single time. And what happens when I do that? I'm not helping Sarah. Like how do you grow? You grow by handling tough shit. You grow through stress. And by me jumping in every time, I was preventing her from the opportunity to relearn to handle those scenarios. And I didn't realize this initially, and it took therapy. This was one of the things I really uncovered in therapy. If I keep stepping in, she's not going to grow. So all that to say is, and that's hopefully a bit more concrete example, but I relate with the fact that at what point, like we had to decide at what point do we stop jumping in? Really, it's how else are they going to learn, or how is something going to change?
Yeah, there's that situation. There's my dad's recovering from what we think was a stroke, and this one's a little bit more. It can be more concrete and everything, but it's been a long process of recovery and recuperation, and having 5 kids under 12 around, going through the situation that they're going through, doesn't help them. Like again, it's my responsibility to make sure that he has like the times or the moments that he needs for like quiet or relaxation. Because how do you do that? You can't really do that with 5 kids. But at the same time, you want to make sure that he's being taken care of at the same time.
Yeah, it's like the balance between like filial responsibility and like primary caretaker, or I don't know.
Ever since our talk with Jeff, I've tried to eliminate the word balance out of my vocabulary.
That Jeff.
That Jeff.
You're right, my dad Jeff.
No, not
yeah, that's not balance. What was it? Not balance.
Satisfaction. But satisfaction doesn't apply here per se, but other words.
Look, life satisfaction, priority satisfaction.
That's the other thing I'd say. I would say more like prioritization over balance. A priority alignment.
Ooh, that's a good little nugget for you listeners. What is your priority? What'd you say?
Alignment.
Priority alignment.
Gosh. Good nugget. What'd you say?
Squirrel. I saw Archer taking a dump out the window and I got distracted. But no, but I was like, priority nugget. No, like priority balance. No.
But so I think it starts from there, and it's not my job, it's not Paul's job to align the priorities for other people in the family. But
nor is it within your control.
exactly.
It
But I wouldn't say duty because I'm not Kantian. As family, we do want to have the other's best interests at heart, like calling out or having those crucial conversations to discuss those things. I think is a good step. That's the other reason I wanted to talk about this stuff, even though it was a terrible start. It just made sense following crucial conversations to go into something more specific where that might come into play. Because, okay, yeah, we talked about why it matters in parenting, but like, how do we apply that in life? And this gave us, you and I were talking about this, and we talked about those crucial conversations we had to have in each other's scenarios today to help enlighten the others to how we see things, how things are really going on, and figure out an alternative solution rather than
Yeah. Is there stuff from our conversation that has helped you as you navigate this, or is everything that we talked about stuff you already knew? And you look.
No, and I think okay, knowing it and hearing it again and applied in that specific scenario is important, because it's like taking the written exam for driving and then taking your road test. You can pass the written exam, great, but until you get behind the wheel, what good is everything you just learned?
Yeah, that's good. Great analogy.
And I think I brought this up at one, maybe I didn't. I know I talked to you about it, but we were at a family wedding a couple weeks ago, and one of my uncles that I'm extremely close with, and that he's always been there for me because he's gone through his own struggles, and he's drawn a parallel to what I've gone through in life, through seminary and through today. And whenever something's come up, he's always been there for me and always given me the time of day that I've needed to just talk or give me that advice. And he just pulled me aside at this wedding and was just like, it's not your job to fix everything. You need to live your own life. And yeah, I've heard that so many times, and even from my parents, but it's different when someone that's outside of the situation that knows what you're going through and sees what you're doing, says what you're doing is good. You can't give up. You can't give up your life to.
Yeah, that's so true, and yet so counter to at least like what is intuitive to me. And it sounds like maybe it's the same for you.
Yeah.
So why do you think that is? Is that based on Catholic teachings, or like, where do you think that comes from? Or is it just societal, Germanic, or
I don't know if it's
Scandinavian?
Maybe some of it's societal. I think a lot of it comes from our seminary formation. Like, we were always told to give, even when it hurts, and sacrifice yourself at all costs. And I remember there was another time I was going through a particularly interesting family scenario years ago. This one I didn't talk freely, but my mom was diagnosed with cancer and she was going through treatments. I had moved back with them because I wanted to be I wanted to be somewhat of a help when if and when she had to start chemo. Luckily she caught it at a time where chemo wasn't necessary, but she still did do radiation therapy and things like that. And basically, I had just broken up with the girl that I was dating for 2 years.
Good riddance.
Part of that was because of the choice I was making to make sure my mom had the care that she needed. That was a point of contention. And it was, I'm trying to remember the details exactly. It was a few years ago. I remember talking to you about it. And just about what Jean was going to go through and everything, because it was scary to expect. And you had to live that firsthand. And so I was a wreck. And so I was grateful I had you and Sarah at that time. But I walked into the university's counseling office, and one of the counselors was a Dominican friar. And so I went in and talked to him. I've seen him around on campus, interacted with him. We knew each other on a first name basis. And so I asked him, could we meet? I just need to talk to somebody. I'm in a rough spot. And basically, he was, tell me about your background. I was like, okay, I was in this seminary. He's okay, we're starting there. I was like, okay, you've heard everything else that's going on. He's, one of the things that you learned in seminary was to give till it hurts. And even then, don't stop. But I'm telling you, as a layperson, it's okay to say no. And you need to say no. And it came down to the boundary stuff. You know, what we mentioned before, like setting up the healthy boundaries. Saying this is where I stop, because anything else is either going to be taken advantage of, or I'm going to be, you're basically using me at this point, and I'm not going to stand for that, which is perfectly healthy and normal, and it should be done.
Yeah.
So that's the long story short of why I think a lot of it has to do from you and I, why we're that way, is just our seminary formation is because my therapist helped enlighten me.
Yeah. Yeah, I do think that there's a lot of truth in that. And I think for me personally, there's also an extension to my childhood. Your feelings be damned, to put it bluntly. This is how it is. This is what you do. And again, I'm not saying, okay, suggesting that we give in to our feelings, but it was to the point that, like, to a fault. It was to a fault, where you should disregard not only your feelings in every moment, but like your well-being, your personal priorities, whatever. So for me, it's a combination of those things.
I think part of it too is the Germanic, Scandinavian, even in some aspect, just Christian on a whole, because one of my friends was, her dad, coworker friend, more of a friend now, was going through cancer treatments, and she texted me one day like, I'm exhausted, I need a break, I like just one day to just sleep. I'm like, just take it. Then no one's going to be with my parents. I'm like, your mom's with your dad. Take a day. And she was like, that's selfish. I'm like, it's really not, though.
Yeah.
And we talked about that for a minute, and we agreed to disagree, but I empathize and sympathize with her in her position, because 6-7 years ago, I would have said the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So how does that, I think we've hit on a really important point here of realigning our priorities as individuals. And something that we have talked about in past episodes a couple of times is like refilling your cup. It's not selfish to take care of yourself so that you can then have more to give. So how does this relate back to your current family drama? like these lessons?
Yeah, that's a good question, Paul. Did we talk about this earlier today? I can't remember.
I don't think we did.
It's I think it's just coming back to those points to navigate family shit. We all have it. Like we talked about earlier, we all have it. It's different smells or consistencies.
Yep.
It's knowing. I think it's those 2 points exactly. We're aligning your priorities. Sometimes the priorities of the family have to be your main priorities, but knowing when they're not. Having those conversations about it to say, this isn't a me problem. This is a you problem.
Yeah. I think we've got one more there actually. And because you mentioned about how you and your brother were planning on having a couple difficult conversations or have had some difficult conversations, crucial conversations even. And well, what I think is awesome about that is you and your brother are choosing to, you are finding like the alignment between your priorities, but that doesn't mean not doing nothing, not doing anything, but it's focusing, it's controlling what you can control. And by having those tough conversations or planning to, you then set yourself up to become an empowerer, not an enabler.
That's a very good point.
Because and this is a line that I love sometimes too is I don't want to disenable. I don't want to just enable the same behavior over and over for their sake or mine. But I do want to help the people I care about to live up to their potential as to uncover what their potential and is for themselves and help them achieve it. So
no, that's exactly how I feel too. It's like I said before, it gets frustrating sometimes, but
yeah, it really does. It really does.
But it's an energy suck. But like if we came back to, okay, what deserves my energy? What else?
But, and you know what? And that is a great way to summarize this because even though it sucks, even though nobody likes slogging through the muck, it is good in that if you choose to, you can reassess and solidify what your priorities are. And that will help you define who you are, what's important to you as an individual, as a man. And that will only make your way forward clear.
No, that's one thing I've talked with my younger brother a lot. It's this, he brought up numerous times, and his wife's family has its own drama. And he and his wife talked about that too. It's like, look, we're trying to start our own family. We want to have our own family. If we keep getting pulled into all this other stuff, we can't. So if we...
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It all comes down to what your goals in life are. And right now, like I'm going to put you on the spot here. Like you have 2 different priorities right now that are conflicting, and that is like to a certain degree, and that is like taking care of your family, being there for them, supporting them. And then there's your own life of you want to become a dad, and you want to start your own family. And at this point, that due to current circumstances, like those are conflicting.
Yeah.
And there isn't a wrong answer, whichever you choose. It just comes down to, your priorities and your values.
Yeah, exactly. What's gonna make you, what's the best one to achieve your goal?
Yeah. Yeah. Like you said, same shit, different consistency, different smell and consistency. And really, I think it's the same conclusions. Like, because my family, we'll get into it. Okay. Mom died 11 years ago. Dad got married a year or two later, to so we are 9 kids, 9 siblings. His new wife had 4 kids. So blended families. And we won't get into the whole like history of all of that, but there were a lot of misaligned priorities across the entire spectrum of the blended family that caused a lot of butting heads, a lot of rifts, a lot of hurt feelings, a lot of everything.
It's even more, I think, important to note is what 5 of you 9 were already into adulthood.
Yeah, exactly. And then at that point, initially, there were 8 kids still at home, 4 of us and 4 of them. So us versus them. As you can tell, we're not very blended. No, we love them. I never had the chance to live with them, so it's a very different relationship than the 4 youngest might have. But anyway, yeah, there was the conflict of the 5 older adults like still wanting to be involved with the 4 younger siblings still at home, but not really caring to assimilate the other 4, for better or for worse. So anyway, all that fun jazz that has gone on for a decade. And then right now, like, things have mellowed out. There's only 1 kid still at home, so like people are doing their own thing and whatever. But there's definitely still tension. There's still whatever. And when will this episode air?
In a few weeks.
Okay, so
You'll be
we're
hearing
safe.
Yeah.
Yeah, my brother is celebrating his 30th soon, and his wife had the great idea to host a surprise party for him and invited me and Andrew and some other out-of-staters to come in and surprise John. And it's going to be a little quick weekend trip.
Yeah.
And the challenge is that my dad is not invited to this party. And this is not like my dad and his wife. And it's not necessarily a typical, like, for Utah gatherings as a whole. It's not specific to anybody in particular. But yeah, this is what I was venting to Andrew about. I was like, it puts me and Eric, my older brother, who's in Florida, in a like tricky situation because we're not going to hide why we are in Utah or that we're coming to Utah. And then, but so gotta bring it up and be like, yeah, like it sounds like you're not invited, but this is the thing we're doing, and yada yada yada. So, but and this was my conclusion when chatting with you, Andrew, and this is what I love about like venting to you, is because this is how I get clarity on some of these things, because it's like, okay, that just makes it about me, and it's not just about me. And here were my conclusions. This I also got from therapy, is I'm not responsible for how like my dad feels, and like allowing myself to divest myself of that responsibility and be like, okay, dad can react or not react however he can. Like I do think I this is one thing I am not backing down on. Like I'm not going to hide that I'm going, and I'm not going to like pussyfoot around why. So that is clear. And then he can react however he reacts. And so how I respond is one thing I can control. And another thing I can control is, okay. And I was texting you. I've talked to Sarah. Yeah. I talked to Sarah about this. And then I talked to my older brother about this. And we ended up talking on the phone. And this is what we came up with. Okay. And I was like, am I obligated to say something to the host of the party? Be like, I think you should invite Jeff, because I don't want to, but I felt, is that my responsibility? Speaking about responsibility. And what we concluded was like, no. And maybe we're wrong, but no, that's not my responsibility. But because we can't, if anything, that might just ruffle feathers and make things worse. Like that, this is not the time and place. And frankly, this is between Jeff and Lisa, and Jeff and Lisa and the Utahns, like the various Utahns. Like this is their relationship. So what we concluded was like, okay, we will focus on controlling what we can control. And this was my brother's ideas. Why don't we just come up with, organize something else the next day that everybody can come to? And that's what we ended up doing. It was like, okay, because we can't control the variables of who is being invited, but we can do something to help make sure that A, John is being celebrated with his entire family, and B, that everybody is included for an important event, because it is an important family event. But this all like ties back to what we've been saying: alignment of priorities, like what is your responsibility, or shedding like what is your responsibility versus like what are your priorities, and then focusing on controlling what you can control.
Yeah. No, I think all these scenarios highlight that in the immediate family and the extended family, there's going to be conflicts of priorities and interests and whatnot. And at the end of the day, you have to do what's right and good for you. And sometimes that could be walking away. Sometimes it could be proposing an alternative. You know, what you and Eric did. Okay, I get that he's not invited to the party, but let's do something as a family. Because one, you're Paul, and you love your family, and you want to do something with your family. No, like when we were talking, though, you're in Utah. Why would you not want to see your dad?
Yeah. And there's complicated enough shit there anyway, because whenever we visit, it's, okay, am I going to stay with one of my siblings, or am I going to stay with my dad? So regarding your point about, okay, what's good and right for you, at what point does that get taken too far? Or how does one keep from taking it too far? Because
I think it's like a great question.
When I hear that, I'm like, I think of people like the relativist side of things. The relativist who says that, okay, well, that's your truth, but that's not my truth. So how do you not take it that far?
People can't see my devious smile. This comes back to something we talked about in another duo conversation. Personalism versus individualism. Like, at what point does your interest exclude the good of the community and become a sacrifice to the community for my own personal gain?
Yeah. Dude, I think this needs to be 2 duo episodes in a row that this has to come up. I think this needs to be.
Yeah, but that's all I really know, even though it's the philosophical system that I follow.
We have 3 weeks to learn and prepare.
But like you can't sacrifice your good, because your good is important as well.
So which one is the good? Is the good one in your mind?
Personalism.
So how would you define both?
So we're going to go off on a tangent, Paul.
Let's do it. This is going to be a little sneak peek to our next episode.
I gotta read the. I don't know if I can do that today. I gotta reflect on exactly what it means to me, because there are the official definitions, but like what I said, like personalism versus individualism, like a lot of it comes down to the common or greater good. But like I said, you can't sacrifice. You still have to look out for your own good. So if you're sacrificing everything that's good to you for the greater good, what good is really being accomplished? But if you sacrifice the greater good to build yourself up, you're being individualistic and selfish.
Okay. Yeah. So individualism is putting yourself above all else.
Yeah.
The opposite of that is putting common good before yourself above all else. Personalism is the hybrid approach where you the sweet spot, where you focus on yourself within appropriate, to an appropriate extent, such that you can show up for the common good optimally, which again we talked about multiple times throughout this episode. So no,
this is that very simplistic comparison, which I don't mind. If there's any philosophers out
simplistic.
there, they're going to be like, "I'll tear that to pieces," and they should. But
this is just a little for our next one. And yeah, if there are philosophers out there who want to tear that to shit, come on the episode. Let's talk about it. I would love to learn about this and where my understanding falls short, because okay, this has been fun. When is family drama not fun?
yeah. So I guess I want to go back to that other point. So you had personalism and individualism, and I guess the other one would be like collectivism.
Okay.
Where the ultimate high importance is on the group or community as a whole. And so you suppress like your Paul, what did you start? But yeah, the third option, the two ends of the pendulum are individualism and collectivism. And like that sweet spot would be personalism.
So next episode, that'll be a personalist dad.
Yeah, but it's a personalist or realist fall along the same. Yeah. Because you as a human person have your own good and your own rights, but you also have to build up for the greater good, for the common good, for the community, without overdoing either. Which is virtue.
Yeah. That is a great habit to acquire. No, dude. Okay, I'm excited. I just want to jump into our next episode. But no, this is good. We have our homework. We'll read up on personalism, individualism, collectivism. We will become experts, and then we'll talk about it as it pertains to be a husband, man, uncle. Oh, here's a question. Okay, a fun little question, totally unrelated to any of this. But you're a professional uncle, right?
No.
And so at this point you're a funkle, right?
I like to call myself a punk.
Yeah, you're a punk. What is my sister asked me this the other day. What is a term? So if there's the funkle, what is the ant equivalent of that? Because she's like, a fan doesn't sound good. A fanty doesn't sound good. Or she's like a funty? Like what? So think about that. And for you listening to the show, if you have
I think it's just called an ant.
Yeah. I was like, entertainment.
Oh.
You are the entertainment or the entertainment. But it just doesn't roll off the tongue as well as Funkle does.
Yeah, that's why uncles are best.
Yeah.
I got some pretty badass ones, but
aunt. You're on Sarah's team. Aunt. Yes, as aunt.
I say aunt when referring to all of them, and then when I call the individual, okay, my Aunt Mary, but I have aunts.
Makes sense.
I'm not gonna say aunts.
My aunts. They're aunts. My
Aunts.
Technically, that's what's where my mind goes.
But aunts in my pond.
I'll say at least in my family, even like so. I got some badass aunts and amazing living. I'm very grateful that I have that my mom's sisters are just who they are, because they're incredible examples of femininity and being an empowered woman while being moms at the same time. So like, just great examples of of everything I'd look for in a partner. But it was a party when the uncles came to town. Even my girl cousins, like when the uncles showed up, like they got excited. Uncle so and so's in town, we gotta go. And there's just something about being an uncle where you have no responsibility, but you still have no parented responsibility, but in a sense, you have that responsibility to show all of them what a real man looks like. And that means having fun and doing fun and dumb stuff. It's with kids that you can get into trouble with, and you're all going to get in trouble. It's the other thing, like the kids got in trouble doing something with the uncle, like the uncle took the fall with them, like
Yeah.
ride or die.
So, yeah, but stereotype or not, men are in general more reckless.
Yeah.
And being more reckless,
It's fun, more fun.
so if you want to be called the ant equivalent of a funkle, then be more reckless.
Like, and there was times where, even now, like, I love when I can. You've met my Aunt Mary, and she'll call me up like, you made lunch this place, and we go and get lunch or have a day off, and she runs the administrative side of her family business and the farm, so she's out and about in the St. Cloud area all day, every day. And I'll just go ride in the car with her while she's doing farm errands, and we'll just hang out. But that came
That's
from
awesome.
she was like a second mom to me.
That's awesome, man.
So I think being the fun aunt is just being that loving, being present, being loving, caring, being the one with the fun ideas. So it's like when she shows up, it's like, hey, let's go do this or let's go do that.
I tell you what,
Which I know your sisters would have no problem coming up with fun ideas, because I know your sisters and they're fun gals.
they really are. And one of my sisters, especially, she is extremely intentional about building a relation with her nieces, and eventually she'll do the same with Liam, right?
Yeah.
But she's calling, she's sending texts. Like, of course, there's like gifts and whatever, but that's just a fraction of it. Like, it's all the other things. It's being present when they're visiting and vice versa. Like, what I admire about her is, like, she knows her boundaries, and she knows, like, when she's overstimulated or needs a break or she needs to go recharge, because being around like high energy 4-year-olds who are taking every ounce of your energy that they can because they don't get you all the time, she sets those boundaries too. So she's not just like a pushover or like an Energizer bunny. That doesn't diminish the relationship that she has with Evie,
Right.
at all. In fact, I think it augments it, because when she shows up fully, and Evie just adores her. All of her,
yeah.
she loves all her aunts, but especially this one.
I think that's the approach, because that's how all my aunts tried to be with us. And you see my family, there's a lot of cousins, and we each have our favorite aunt and uncle, but all of them, all my aunts have, whenever needed something or talk to somebody that's not my mom, or get through some of this family drama, like I could call them and they'll listen and they'll talk. And that all started with, because they were like, what your sister's doing, just being present, wanting to be a part of my life. And
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, we're about that time, huh? This is great, dude.
I wonder what AI is going to score this one, Paul.
110%.
Not structured.
6'7", 6'7". Are your nieces and nephews doing that?
Yes. It's driving me nuts.
Just ask them. Just give them a random number. This is a reel I saw the other day. It's like the kid asking the parent, the adult, "Do you know what 6'7" is?" "No." They laugh at her. It's like, "Do you know what?" Just shoot a random number, like 3720 is. Like,
You fucking loser.
I wouldn't say that to big kids, but it makes me laugh. So, anyway, hopefully today's episode
got some depth into navigating family drama. I don't know. I feel like we did.
Yeah, no, I think we did. I think we had some great conclusions. I think we talked about drama that everybody can relate with. And if not, share your drama, spill your tea with us.
Part of me feels bad because it's a conclusion of a conversation you and I were having, but I think we did enough to get people up to speed, and then we came to a conclusion that we hadn't yet in our conversation.
Yeah. And if we didn't, leave us a review. Or if we did, leave us a review.
Put comments because Paul wants to know.
Yeah, leave us a review. Rate us and leave us comments. Did we do good? Did we do good, mama? That went way better in my head.
Sometimes you just gotta leave stuff there, Paul.
Okay. Did we do well or not? And if we did well or not, explain why, because we want to know. Anyway. Yeah, so we had some good conclusions. Alignment of priorities.
Applying to
Setting
conversations.
And focusing on controlling what you can control.
Yeah.
Among other things. So if you have any other conclusions as to how you deal with your family drama, also let us know that. Until next time.
You did good.
Hey. All right, Andrew, you want to wrap us up?
Yeah. Now you gotta give me the giggle. Said for what? Thank for what? Oh. No, but I was.
Okay, bye.
Thank you all, and thank you, Paul.
All right. See ya. Bye.
Poodles.